but it might even be cool to share something like that as
Well, that's the
well
thing
with
is
like,
that could be incorporated into all of this. We're talking top secret information right now that we're not going to actually explain,
we are. There will be
but
no context
but
provided.
we are working on the radio play. We are working on some other fun things for the future.
Yeah.
As is the norm, the second one thing ends, 10,000 new things begin.
Yes.
So
The stroke of midnight connected universe is coming together.
that's right. We're creating an entire universe of nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
It is no longer planetary.
Yeah.
And neither is our subject for this week,
No.
right? Dorian wants to talk about AI. So before we actually say anything about AI, the greatest quote I ever heard, I'm going to play for you right now.
Ooh, nice.
And it will
set the tone for the conversation.
Much to say about it. It's computers. It has nothing to do with music. It's, it can't destroy a hotel room. It can't throw a TV off the fifth floor into the pool and get right in the middle. When AI knows how to destroy a hotel room, then I'll pay attention to it.
That is the legendary Joe Walsh giving his take on AI.
Damn.
And it's one that I agree with immensely.
Uh-huh.
Because, at the end of the day, art is has more to do with our attitude on life than it does to do with our knowledge of the world. And I think that, for all AI's bells and whistles, it lacks a certain attitude.
Yeah, it does. It'll never be AI will never be a rock star. And that does kind of, I mean, is that the end of the episode? Did we just kind of solve the whole dilemma?
I mean,
it's
you could leave it at that for sure.
Yeah.
But
that's delightful.
I know you have some thought. I know you have some thoughts that you want to get out. So why don't you go ahead and start and lead us down this primrose path and see where we go.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I guess, it's one of those things. It's an interesting place to be, right? Because I guess when I got involved in film, it was like on the cusp / the far end of the like digital revolution. And that's kind of what got me into it. Like, I was always a big film nerd when I was younger, but the barrier to entry when it was all film, actual film, was so high. It just seemed so prohibitive, and like there was no way to get in,
Yeah.
And once digital came around and kind of democratized the whole thing and stuff, like that's when I really kind of first got involved. So that was obviously like a huge paradigm shift for the medium. But now with the like rise of AI stuff, this is the first one that me as like a somewhat established professional within film is like seeing now this huge change occur.
Yeah.
That kind of like makes everyone rethink everything.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you think in the 90s or early 2000s that the 40-year-old auteur felt the same way about digital that the current 40-year-old auteur feels about AI?
I think very much so.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing happened when sound was introduced into film and when color was introduced into film. Like there was this whole kind of, everyone was up in arms, like this isn't the pure art anymore. Like this isn't what film is, and then it's like, eventually it becomes the norm.
Yeah.
And then same with digital. Like that was a big thing. A lot of people were, all the people who worked with film were like, it looks like shit. It's never going to look like film. And they were right, but regardless, it became the norm now. And that's, there's very few people, like people like Tarantino and P.T. Anderson and J.J. Abrams have to like make, and Christopher Nolan, of course, have to make like public sort of appeals to keep companies like Kodak in business so that they can even shoot film anymore, so that there's, anyone even making it.
Yeah.
So it's really become like that sort of normalized to the whole, digital aspect of things. And of course, digital has gotten much better since then, but it's still, it's different. It doesn't look the same as film. It doesn't perform the same as film. all these people, in that era who had learned this entire like crazy skill set, how to like wrangle an image onto this little piece of celluloid, and get it to look the way they wanted, had to completely, revise and adapt, to that whole change. And now something similar is happening with AI where, and we obviously haven't seen how it shakes out yet. But at the very least,
we're in the eye of the storm. So
yeah, seriously. Yeah. No, and anybody who claims to have any kind of perspective on this is lying.
Yeah.
Cause we just don't know right now. And it's so like, that's both like an exciting and a terrifying place to be. Right. So yeah, it's something that I feel very conflicted about personally. And again, it's one of the, I keep like trying to remind myself of like the lessons of the past, and like, what, at the end of the day, like it's a tool, right? That's
well,
like, just like added, just like sound and film was, just like digital is, just like, color film versus black and white film or whatever. And whenever like a new tool like this is introduced, it's met with a lot of resistance, and I think rightfully so, because it's like, okay, let's stem the flow before we kind of like get in over our heads and don't even like know what it is we're even dealing with right now.
Yeah.
And AI has such a larger, because of its implications, obviously those other technologies I'm talking about are very film specific. But the implications of AI technology are obviously like way broader and more far reaching. But for me in particular, I'm cool with AI making, like a list of cool shit to do on a road trip or whatever for me, so I don't have to take the time to do it. But like, that's the stuff I want it to do. I don't want it making art so that I have time to do the dishes. I want it to do the dishes so I have time to make art.
Yeah. I mean,
it's gotten flipped somehow,
Well, I think the natural intuition of humans in general is anytime you get a new toy, it's what can it do?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what this thing can do.
Yeah.
Right? And that fun lasts for a very, very brief period of time. And then it's, let's use this thing for what it was meant to be, or what it is good at, And so I think from a utilitarian standpoint, it is extremely useful. From a creative substitution, it is very detrimental. And so hopefully, once the shine is worn off, so to speak, hopefully people can use it for what it really should be used for,
Mm-hmm.
as an extension of our ability to organize our thoughts and organize information and aggregate information and all the menial tasks that do, hinder us from being our most creative selves. And so I think, time will tell.
Yeah.
And there's been enough pushback, especially like in the film industry, with like whatever collective bargaining agreements and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, those didn't work.
It did work. Oh, okay.
No,
Yeah,
it was
well.
it was like a minor stopgap that had like a real easy workaround pretty much immediately. So yeah, it was kind of a bummer to see. The deal they struck after all those strikes and stuff was like, this is not nearly sufficient.
Well, that's unfortunate. I will say I actually stumbled onto an Instagram account in the last 24 hours. Called the AI, is it called the AI Cop or something? I don't know. It's something like that. But basically, it's an account calling out musicians for using AI art as their concert posters.
Oh, okay.
And it's hilarious.
That's awesome.
It's Carl Winslow in a RoboCop outfit, being like, "Shame on you, Humphreys McGee," or "Shame on you," whatever. Like Humphreys was the most recent one that I saw, but.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
So, I think. Go ahead.
Oh, I live down the street from the guy who does merch for Humphreys McGee.
Oh, really?
He has a dog, so I bump into him while I'm walking Jimmy sometimes. And like we just started chatting one day and was like, "Oh, I work for Pretty Lights." And he's like, "Oh shit, I work for Humphreys McGee." And we were talking, so I'm gonna hassle him about that next time I see him, which might be later today.
Yeah. So I mean, the thing with this account is, they're assuming that it is AI.
Mhm.
When and they've got some pretty good points when they, like, oh, no artist was accredited for this artwork, or look how these little imperfections aren't human imperfections, they are clearly AI imperfections, because
Right.
there's a difference between someone
Everyone
who,
has 6 fingers. Yeah.
yeah, or like this thing blends into this thing unnaturally, why is that happening? And so there's a whole bevy of bands that have been utilizing graphic design by our computer brethren,
Hmm.
and they've been catching a lot of heat for it. So, I think when it comes to like replacing, the creative people in our ecosystem, that's where the big challenges occur, because yeah, it keeps costs down, but you're destroying the foundation of which we all stand on. We need
Yeah.
you need all these people to, to nurture the environment that is the creative arts, and whether it's a graphic designer, whether it's a sound designer, producer, this thing, that thing, all of those things, that we all work together to make all of this happen. And the minute we start using canned concepts, because that's the thing at the end of the day, is like AI isn't making anything new.
Right.
AI has taken everything that's ever been made in the history of time and just repurposing it. And
Yeah.
so if we continue down that path, we are quickly going to be in a place of, we already see it with movies and stuff, where it's like the 18th sequel of this terrible comedy or whatever. And it's like, the minute there are no new ideas, then none of this matters anymore.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's the ultimate visual remixer.
Yeah.
Essentially. But yeah, and that's really what it comes down to, is like, like I was saying before, it's a tool. So, what I constantly have to remind myself is, like, it's not AI that concerns me, it's how people use AI that concerns me. It's human nature, is, again, as always, is the problem.
Yep.
It is both the thing that I'm fighting for in going against AI, and also the thing that worries me about AI. So it's a bit contradictory in that regard, but again, that's human nature. I think there's this perception, because the place I could see AI fitting in and actually being, useful as the tool that it is much like any other program. It's a collaborator.
Yeah.
It's not the artist itself. It doesn't produce the final thing. It helps you get there. And it seems like right now there's this perception that, like, if we hire, like, yes, that's the thing that really deterred me from it at the outset, was like, I had friends who started losing their jobs to AI, like writers, and they were like, oh, well, this AI model can write a review in your style if we tell it to. So why are we paying you when we could just have this thing do it?
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what if, instead of just completely replacing the person with AI, you paid them to work with AI to develop these things maybe quicker or whatever, but they could still put their touch on it, their fingerprint, however it works. I don't know exactly how that relationship would pan out. But it seems like that, is much more palatable as far as like a way forward with AI, is like, there are artists who work with AI tools as collaborators, much like I currently work with DaVinci and Fairlight and, all these things to, exactly automate these tasks for me.
Yeah, there are AI assets inside of all these programs now too. And
right.
so like,
they're constantly pushing me to utilize them.
Yeah. We're all using it in one way or another. It's just how egregiously are we using it. There were some experiments that I was messing around with not too long ago, where I would feed an AI thing images of my paintings, and I would take the image and I would move it and animate it in very subtle ways, and then I would feed it into the AI thing, into the AI monster, and then the AI monster would deconstruct the painting and turn it into a more like interesting visual graphic thing, right?
Okay.
So basically using AI to animate my paintings. And I think to myself, like, this is an interesting use of AI because it's not creating anything. It's taking things that I've created and manipulating them in ways that otherwise wouldn't be possible. And so it's a fine line.
Mhm.
It's one that I wasn't really like totally comfortable with, I guess, or at least I wasn't happy with it yet. But there are definitely like inklings of opportunity there. And so, you know, excuse me. Woo. Fall is in the air, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
I think that there's opportunity to coexist, but yeah, the intentions behind it need to be good. You know, to just replace people or replace processes entirely, we'll find ourselves in a very homogenized and very one-dimensional world much more quickly than we could ever possibly imagine.
Yeah, right. Social media has already done a lot to contribute to sort of like monoculture popping up where it's like there is the one true opinion, you know, and that if you stray from it, you are ostracized.
Oh yeah.
And you know, adding a technological element to that also kind of does the same thing and is like, you know, it's already bad enough that like our algorithm or the algorithm, you know, whatever it is, like we've talked about this before. Go to somebody else's place and open up Netflix and you will see shit you didn't know existed.
Yeah.
Because all it does is feed back to you the things you've told it you like. And it's like, oh, you like that? Here's 50 more of that.
Yeah.
You know? And it's easy to see how that just funneling, you know, process will, you know, continue to occur if we allow the actual creative, you know, element to be influenced by this as well. More so than it already is. Obviously, there's market forces that push things in a certain direction. But yeah, that's, you know, and that's really the big conundrum is how does that kind of regulation happen? And
it's going to have to be self-regulation, unfortunately,
right.
You know, because like the genie's already out of the bottle and I don't know, like,
yeah. And in not to get too politicized about it, but in like a late stage capitalist kind of society as well, where it really is, you know, it's obvious to see like how big tech companies are going to use these things. It's exactly the ways we've been talking about, to not have to pay people and just, you know, let the machine do the work. And so that's really, you know, I enjoy, and I think it's interesting to like kind of grapple with the individual, you know, creative challenges and moral kind of dilemmas of working with this technology. But yeah, as usual, at the end of the day, the giants are going to dominate the conversation and ultimately, you know, determine, I think, the way that this stuff is implemented. And that's the thing that scares me, you know, and like makes me very negative as far as like my perception of the technology and its utilization. If it were something that were, you know, if we as artists got to drive the narrative as far as like how this stuff is being used and how we're figuring out how to integrate it within, you know, our own processes and stuff, and got to, you know, again, control that narrative and ultimately determine the outcome, then like I'd feel a lot more confident that maybe we'd be headed in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that's going to intrinsically happen is that you'll find that the true artists will find a way to work within all of this, you know, because like in my mind, and it's similar to what Joe was talking about, but like artists who are like unapologetically unique don't really have anything to worry about.
Yeah.
Right? You just find a new way to be unique. And that's kind of like, that's what, you know, the driving force of creativity is like, regardless of like what the trend is or what the cool thing is, or, you know, how much competition there is out there, the artists that create on their terms will continue to do so successfully, I hope and think.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
No, it's true. Yeah, I think
I'll probably eat these words in 3 years and say that when I'm working at a fucking, you know, a mechanic shop or something, because the robots, you know, can't figure out how to get underneath a Tesla or something. But like,
yeah, right. Yeah, we're we're all working in the salt mines because they're sodium powered or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did just see that there's a what was the maid's name in the Jetsons?
Oh God, I don't know. I was not a big Jetsons guy.
Oh man,
Can't remember.
I want to say it begins with a B, but Betty maybe. No, it wasn't Betty. That's the Flintstones. I don't know.
Beulah.
No.
Anywho,
I did just see an ad for an AI robot that will clean your house for like $20,000. That's gonna hit market, I think, sometime next year. So that's finally happening.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's a great use of AI right there. Like, will you please go fucking clean my toilet?
Yeah. Ooh, I'm getting a nice sunburst over here.
Yeah, you look beautiful.
Yeah. The sun just came out.
It's definitely not out here.
Yeah.
There was what was the other thing I was thinking of? Oh, from a writer's standpoint. So you'll love this, because this is an interesting example of the shortcomings of AI, right? Because AI at its core is like a giant archive of everything digital that's existed, right? And so anything that's been digitized or anything that's been said or anything that's been done in the modern age, it has reference to. What it doesn't have reference to is actual like cultural existence, right? All of the things that happen in the gray area, all of the things that happen in real life that you can never really put into words, or the opinions of an audience that maybe isn't so vocal online, right? So our good friends at the WWE have been experimenting with AI script writing. And the results were terrible. And here's why. For 100 years, wrestling has existed in the Coliseum, so to speak, right? What you see at a live wrestling show is, you know, that specific sect of the audience responds to that show uniquely from, so when you're in Chicago, right, they're going to respond a certain way. When you're in New York, they're going to respond a certain way. When you're in San Francisco, they're going to respond a certain way, right? Then, and as we've discussed in the past, there's the internet wrestling community. A very small sect of the audience, of the greater audience, exists as a vocal participant on internet forums and Twitter and Facebook and whatever else, right? Now, those people are very unique in their opinions and in their likes of what they like and what they don't like about wrestling. And so when AI is trying to find its, references and such of what it thinks makes a good wrestling show, right?
It's pulling from the internet community.
It's pulling from the internet wrestling community, not from the greater cultural existence that is wrestling, especially in a live situation, right? So it starts using references to things that are either A, outdated, or B, impossible, because said wrestler doesn't exist on this roster. He's over at this other company now. And it starts pulling in like Japanese references, because for some reason the internet wrestling community is obsessed with Japanese wrestling. And I think because a lot of these people are very lonely, and in Japanese wrestling, women are much more, I don't know. It's like a weird, what's the word I'm looking for here? Fucking subculture sort of, taboo thing of like sexualization and like little, it's it's like one step away from like weird porn almost. Japanese wrestling. So, so what they realize though is that like AI may not be as useful to us as we thought, because like the core wrestling fan base that comes and actually pays a ticket for the show isn't wasting their time talking about it online. They go to the show, they watch the show, whatever, they have a good time. It's the fucking, weirdos, the weirdos who have too much time on their hands and have these fringe opinions about what wrestling can and should be, they're the ones who are spewing all this nonsense onto the internet. And so AI thinks, well, they know what they're talking about. So we're going to just take all their ideas, right?
This guy posts on Reddit all the time. He must be an expert. Yeah.
And so there's another side of AI that becomes very, very interesting, is the amplification of the vocal minority when it comes especially to like storytelling, right? Because when you really think about it, when you really, really, really think about it, in any situation, whether it's music, film, wrestling, TV, blah, 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 the vocal minority, the people who actually decide to like take the time to spew whatever nonsense they have to spew, do they speak for the average fan of said thing? And sometimes maybe they do, and sometimes maybe they don't. It's hard to say, right? But I think you'll see the results, much like WWE did, that like, oh shit, this is getting bad information.
Yeah.
So that's something to think about.
It's and that's really interesting, and that's really cool, actually. It's such a discerning. It's funny to say this about the wrestling audience, but it is a very kind of discerning audience in a sense. Like they're very attuned to like what this thing is, and if it strays from that, it's as I saw when you took me to that show last year. The immediacy of feedback is so strong that it's like you can't really like bullshit this audience. The second you do, they're in the room. And they're going to tell you right now, this is bullshit, through their reaction and whatever. So, it's really cool. I guess the element of that, from the writing standpoint that, maybe doesn't give me so much confidence is the fact that like at this point, movie and TV audiences have been, again, like you were talking about, it's all remakes, reboots. There's an 18th sequel or whatever, like, that kind of degradation is already present. And like having, I feel like in that environment, having AI write season 27 of Dexter or whatever, is like not going to be as noticeable to the audience because like the quality has already dropped off so much. And again, like with the way that the algorithm works and we just keep getting fed the same thing over and over again. And in my opinion, in the past 10 years or so since streaming has really taken off, just like the general quality level, quantity has taken over quality in terms of the, relationship between those two things. People generally want more of something than a better something. Yeah.
It's just feed me more content, content. One thing that does give me a little bit of hope in that sense, and maybe, it's going to take a while for us to like really see if it like bears fruit, is that it does seem as though younger people are unplugging more and more.
That's what I've been hearing, and so it's very heartening. Yeah.
And so if that trend continues, then I think, we'll find ourselves in some new golden age, hopefully, of people that have kind of broken out of this chain of this cyclical thing of just the feedback chamber. And, and then, here's the thing, right? Hopefully that giant comet up there is actually a fucking spaceship. And hopefully they come down here and they fucking smarten us up a little bit.
Yeah. Be like, whoa, hold on, guys.
But if that doesn't happen, then, as is everything in life, everything is cyclical. And much like I think what we saw, in like the 80s in music, right? Where in the 80s music lost all substance, and it was all, the byproduct of the music video age. And it was just like, how glamorous could you be? How outrageous can you be? It wasn't about like, and there was still great music, but, and then grunge happens, and then boy bands happen, and then this thing happens, and then that. And so we're in a weird cycle of garbage right now, and hopefully in another 10 or 15 years, we can, and maybe sooner, who knows, you know, it might happen sooner than we think.
Yeah, the cycles, the like wavelength of each cycle is getting shorter and shorter over time. It seems like
that's the other thing too. And so hopefully, maybe let's create a spark of hope right now. I'm going to see one of the greatest bands of all time play their first shows in 7 years next week.
Fuck yeah.
Perhaps some young here. I think we talked about this on the last episode, right?
Yeah.
About how most people streaming Radiohead right now are between the ages of 13 and 16. So
let's still insane. I've told like 4 people about this since we recorded, and they're all like, "What? Why are these words coming out of your mouth? This makes no sense."
So this is our hope for the future, is that a bevy of youngsters make it to these shows over the next couple of weeks, and they are inspired to lead the revolution out of the dark and into the light that is musicianship and creative integrity. You know, because here's the thing, right? They right now in this moment, they may think of Radiohead as that song that everyone's TikToking. But that all you need is the door to open, and then they're going to learn, and they're going to say, "Oh wow, they wrote this incredible masterpiece of an album," and then they told everyone to go fuck themselves and went in a completely different direction and wrote this masterpiece of an album. And then they did this crazy thing, and then they did that. And they, you know, and the list goes on and on. And as they learn more, and then they are inspired to say, fuck all of this, let's make our own masterpiece. We don't need AI, or maybe even alternatively, we know how to use AI to make the next great masterpiece.
Right.
Us old fogies aren't ever going to be able to figure it out. We're aged out of that concept, I believe. It's going to take some 10-year-old who is thinking about all of this from a completely different angle and with a completely different understanding of how this can all work. Because right now, like, you know, like we're in that weird position where we're old enough or we're young enough to understand what's going on, but we're too old to really like accept what's going on, right?
Right. We're still in a position where we're trying to fit this new thing into what we already know, instead of approaching it all as like a new thing.
As this is what it is. This is, right? We are, you know, you get to a certain point in life and you have your things, and then if you're open-minded enough, you say, how can I fit these new things into my thing? You never, once you reach a certain age, you're not doing most people anyway aren't doing a new thing. Yeah. They're just trying to figure out how to do their thing best with whatever new options exist around them. And so for this next generation, they don't have that thing yet. They're still finding their thing. And so they have all of these new options laid out in front of them. And you know, maybe the future isn't so bleak. I like to stay optimistic when it comes to that kind of stuff. I look at my lunatic child and I say to myself, you're so out of the box that you are bound to do something crazy. Yeah. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know which.
Yeah, but you're going to figure it out, though.
You're going to do something that's going to leave a mark in some form or fashion. I don't know. He could be a fucking serial killer. He could be the next great rock star. I don't know. But there's something cool's bound to happen eventually. And, you know.
Whatever you do, be the best.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's true. And like, I mean, that's a really good point, because like that was when I was talking about getting into film school, and it was like, right, you know, as like digital was really kind of becoming a thing, that was what was exciting about it for me. Was I was like, okay, well, I haven't worked in film, so I don't have that like preconceived notion of like how these things should work and this process, you know, so I get to be part of like the generation that gets to like think about this as something new and different and figure it out on its own terms, rather than just like complaining about how digital doesn't look like film. And here I am.
And this one, I see this one a lot in like the lighting world, because like when a console changes, you know, so like when we went from the Grand MA 2 to the Grand MA 3, right? This is an argument by us old fogies. Is like, this old thing does exactly what I want it to do. Why would I learn this new thing? Right? And so um, I've never said that. Those words have never come out of my mouth. I've always been of the opinion if there's something new, there's something new to learn from it or to gain from it. But I can imagine, especially like, you know, in the film world, right? Like this notion, like this works.
Right.
Why would we try this other thing, or why would we spend the time? You know, because a lot of people don't like the idea of moving backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And so to learn something new means to start over and means to, you know, you're not in the position you once were. And I think that's scary to a lot of folks too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And, you know, the irony is that, of course, now here I am like 17 years later bitching about how, you know, digital doesn't look like film after having gone through everything that I just talked about.
Well, yeah.
And shooting on Super 8 and stuff like that. But yeah, just like the attitude that I had coming into the digital realm, you're right. There's like this new generation that's going to be approaching film and storytelling in a visual format through the lens of like this hybrid idea that like AI is this thing you work with. You know, it's not the thing that just makes it for you, but like you work with it to like get your vision out there. And you're right. Those people will probably make some incredible stuff. Or at the very least, you know, have the highest likelihood of creating something, you know, genuinely unique and interesting. And like those, you know, singular artists that we've talked about, like, you know, when Pulp Fiction came out, it was like everybody kind of knew, like, this is undeniable, you know, it commands your attention. And this is like probably what film is going to look like for the next, you know, 10, 15 years or whatever. And sure enough, that's how it played out.
Yeah.
So yeah, those types of artists, like no matter what the technological constraints or freedoms are of the medium, are going to, you know, utilize their voice in a way that like gets out who they are. So I don't think it's going to stop those people for sure. I guess my larger concern is about the industry as a whole shifting in such a direction that there's not even like a doorway for those people to even be a part of it anymore.
Yeah.
You know, obviously the flip side of that is that distribution is whatever you want it to be at this point. You can just post shit on YouTube, you know.
Yeah.
Can that really be monetized as like, you know, something with like the budget of a film? As of right now, no, but that doesn't mean it's never going to be the case. You know, because at the end of the day, and I think this is probably the most important and most hopeful thing that I can say is that, you know, like the flip side of the whole capitalist society is that at the end of the day, like it's us, the consumers, that really have the power. You know, if we reject things, then they don't move forward. You know, if a streaming service or whoever is like utilizing a lot of AI only stuff and cutting out the human element of it, if we just don't subscribe to it, if we just reject it, then like it's going to fail.
Yeah.
And then other companies won't take the same route because obviously, you know, or they'll just get more clever about doing it.
Yeah. But unfortunately, we already know it's too late for that, because I mean, well, you're not on social media, but the abundance of AI content that has been bubbling up to the surface, and honestly, in the last month, it's become like a major thing.
Really?
And it's getting major traction. There was a thing. What was it? Oh, well, so I love how this always goes back to wrestling, but there was a fun little fad that existed for about a week there. I think they've already kind of put the kibosh on it, but they were because, you know, you can't, like, if it's Sora, if it's any of the major like AI video generator things, they do have rules, right? Where like you can't use someone who's alive. But I guess apparently one of the loopholes was like you can put anyone who's dead into one of these videos. And so people were making wrestling entrances and wrestling promos with dead people. So it was like Tupac versus Biggie, and it looked like it was fucking Tupac walking down the aisle to one of his songs, and then him and Biggie are fucking talking shit to each other in the ring. But then it got really crazy, and they started using historical figures. So it was like MLK versus Albert Einstein, and MLK went heel, and like it got crazy. But apparently it pissed a bunch of people off. They were like, "How dare you make Martin Luther King a bad guy?" And so now they're starting, I guess, I don't know if they're implementing like a historical figure rule, but now you can't use historical figures in some of these video creations because people already abuse that.
Right. quickly abuse that.
Yeah. MLK fucking.
I'm surprised that's only as far as it went. I feel like it could have been so much worse.
It got crazy. I mean, there was Jesus and a few. There was like Jesus versus the Buddha. Like, I don't know. It was all and like Gandhi. It was all over the place. But like,
well, if you want to use fictional characters, in my opinion, fictional characters, that's fine.
But yeah, it got pretty rowdy in there for a minute, and I think that I read an article just the other day saying that they were gonna have to put a stop to that. So
yeah, that is what a can of worms that is.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even imagine what it's like to regulate that also within the software, even just like trying to tell the model itself, like, these are the things you can and can't do. That seems like, Herculean task.
Yeah. It's a weird fucking world we live in now.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, as you were mentioning though, about the younger generation kind of, picking up on some of this stuff and starting to reject it. I had a buddy of mine who works in marketing, was telling me that he was watching some talks recently about, consumer culture nowadays and how much it has changed with these younger generations, because they've become, they were, as soon as they were born, like, the algorithm was there, it was like collecting data on them. And when they come of age, in their teenage years and start to realize, like, hey, that's kind of fucked up. Like, since I was a child, you've been like, so they're saying, like, I hate this. I don't like this.
Yeah.
They're leaving their phones at home when they go out, things like that, to try to not, give it information on them so it can't try to predict them or tell them who they are,
It's the natural progression of, like, being a rebellious teenager, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to participate at school. You don't want to be, like, you don't want to be the center of attention. You don't want, like, for that portion of the youth, that kind of goes through that whole thing. When you think of, like, the grunge era, right? Like,
mm-hmm.
that was the, like, that's the best example of, like, teen rebellion as a, like, movement, right? And now what we're probably going to see or not see, if you really think about it, is the disappearance of that generation. They're going to disconnect and disappear from all of this because that's their form of rebellion.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's like that's a meaningful rebellion, actually.
Yeah.
The first, one of the few times the teenagers were, like, at the forefront of, like, no, we all need this.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, that's, like, such a mind fuck to me to even think about that, like, by the time you're, like, 14, 15 years old, it's like, there's this machine already trying to, like, predict you and tell you, like, what you are.
Yeah. And,
like, what you're interested in and, like, what you should be buying or paying attention to and stuff. And, like, that is, like, a horrifying concept. I mean, that's some actual side. Did you ever see that movie Gattaca?
Oh, God. I mean, yeah, I saw it when it, like, what was that, like 1998?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long time since I've seen it.
But in some ways, it's like it's like the real version of that kind of science fiction, where, like, in that movie, the whole premise is that, like, we've come so far in our understanding of genetics that, like, as soon as you're born, your genetic code can be read, and they'll, like, be able to tell, like, oh, okay, you're going to get cancer when you're 32, blah blah. Like, you're only going to have this level of intellectual capacity, so you would be good as, like, a janitor.
Yeah,
and then that determines, like, your whole
system.
life.
They created, like, a caste system, essentially, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and somebody tries to cheat the system, of course, and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's it's one of those things that's, like, seems kind of horrifying. It's like, well, in, like, a weird way, we're kind of there right now.
Yeah.
Which is, it's obviously not as ingrained into societal.
For all the suckers who participated in 23andMe.
Yeah. Right.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. You got them off to the races on that one.
Yeah, you gave them a giant data pool.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and it's funny because the thing that I think first alerted me to this shift in the younger generation is hilarious, because at first I laughed about it, and then I realized, I was like, wait, I think this might be a good thing. Is with our film Chicago Rot, and working with our distributor, and they send us quarterly updates on, like, profits and and just market research, like where things are headed, where, you know, because it's very flexible right now, like where your movie is available. So you
Sure.
obviously want to try to like move it, or it's available in all these places, but you don't, you know, it doesn't make sense to promote every single one of them. You promote the ones that are actually performing. So over the past few years, what's been happening more and more so is like our distributor has been constantly pushing on us what's called AVOD, which is advertising based video on demand. So there's like, you know, there's a bunch of different formats of this. There's like premium VOD, PVOD they call it, which is when like, you know, oh, this movie's in theaters, but you can rent it at home for like $30, you know, or something like that.
Yeah.
There's subscription based VOD, which would be like Netflix. You pay one fee, you get everything.
Yep.
You know, and then there's advertising based VOD, which as of an older generation know is basically fucking television.
Yeah.
There's commercials. You don't pay for anything, but there's commercials.
Sure.
And the younger generation has flocked to AVOD in like insane numbers.
Really?
Yeah, because like for us, we grew up with commercials, and then it was like this idea that like, wait a second, I can pay, and then I just never have to watch a commercial again. That's fucking great.
Yeah.
But for people who grew up on that, they're like seeing it the opposite way, and they're like, wait a second, I don't have to pay shit if I just watch an ad every couple of every 20 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And so all of the growth, you know, our distributor was more and more so, and at this point they're like, it's almost like not even worth it to promote on the other platforms. It's like the advertising based VOD, like Tubi and what's a Freevee is the one that
YouTube,
I think Amazon. Yeah. Is like those are the places where everything is blowing up right now.
Interesting.
And
that does make sense.
I was cracking up at first, but then I was like, you know what? This is a good thing, because like where streaming has gotten us, in my opinion, personally at least, is like it has degraded the quality of things and brought us closer to all the stuff that we've been talking about, you know, this episode. That's sort of like monocultural thing, but this is like, you know, this is a more like open, free form, you're not being like guided by anything, you know, kind of format. And, you know, the more that like things are guided by those types of considerations rather than, you know, the algorithm, you know, is I think a very good thing as far as like where things might be headed in the future.
Well, it's an interesting prospect too, because like there's something to that where like people aren't validating the cost of premium entertainment because it doesn't feel very premium.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, fuck it. I'll just go use this stupid free app that has whatever from, you know, whatever time period or whatever obscure thing that isn't being forced down my throat and so on. So that's an interesting notion, actually.
Yeah. And now it's, you know, it's becoming like a weird hybridization now, because like Tubi is now starting to create like original content.
Oh, really?
You know,
I got to imagine it's not good.
It's, you know, some of it is so not good that it's amazing.
Yeah, there we go.
And then there's like one or two people who seem to be like actually genuinely very creative artists who have decided like, you know, they probably will let me do whatever I want.
Well, that's the ticket right there, right?
You know,
if there's freedom, there's
Yep.
freedom there that doesn't exist in other places.
Yeah, exactly. And they're kind of in a position too where they don't know, you know, they have no idea what works for them at this point. So they're kind of just throwing spaghetti at the walls and seeing what sticks. So it's an interesting place to be.
There was a time, and I think it's still very much a thing, but like comedians just completely like bypassed traditional media routes, and they were just putting their specials up on YouTube because they were like, there's no restrictions other than like, now there's some language restrictions, I suppose. You can get demonetized if you use certain naughty words, but otherwise, like, there's no executives, there's no commercialization rules that would stop you from putting out exactly what you want to put out. And so if you have the means to self-produce something, then you could just put it out there, and if it's good enough, you can leverage those platforms similarly to, like, the ones you're talking about. Like, creative freedom is more valuable than than a giant check sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you can actually garner an audience the old-fashioned way of just doing something good.
Yeah, totally. And it's, yeah, exactly. And it puts the, because like in Netflix, with like Netflix or streaming subscription based, services, it's like they don't care whether or not you like something, like you're paying them the same amount of money and they're just going to feed you the stuff that you thumbs up. But like, it doesn't really matter to them if you're not into it. But things that are advertising based, like Tubi, it's like you're just choosing stuff.
Yeah.
And like, so they actually are paying attention to like what you like and don't like, because that's where you're putting your eyeballs.
Yeah.
And then that's where the ad dollars are coming in, because those are the commercials people are actually seeing are the ones.
We're basically just going back to old cable television.
Exactly. Like, it's so insane,
fantastic.
but it was a better system. I have to say that, like, now that we've lived through the streaming era for like long enough, I think I can say, pretty definitively that like that was a better way of sifting, content, or as we used to call them, movies and television shows, into, the good and the bad. And like the best stuff would float to the top and the bad shit would disappear. But now it's like, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And Netflix doesn't share their numbers with anybody as far as viewership. Nobody knows how many people have watched anything on there.
I think this is a theory that I have, that Netflix values the buzz of programming more than they value the viewership of programming.
Yeah.
Right? So if they put something out that people are talking about, that is more valuable to them than how many people are actually watching it.
Mm-hmm. Because
the money's already there. They're creating their own ads, their own ad space, essentially, through the buzz of what. That's why wrestling is working for them. If depending on what you read, right, the wrestling viewership on Netflix is not as strong as they had anticipated. But what is strong is that there is something in the news from the world of wrestling every day, right? And so in that sense, they're like, who cares? People are talking about it. That's all that matters, And
when
so,
they're talking about it, they're talking about Netflix, and then that is just driving more awareness, and because at the end of the day, it's interesting. It's like the thing that's most important to the streamers is just like how much time people are spending in their app.
Yeah, it
doesn't matter if they're like watching stuff, if they're scrolling around looking at shit. Like if you're just in our app and in our environment, and we have things that like you're interested in, if you watch something, you're going to stay here to look for something else. Like that's actually the more important than how many people are even watching something.
Yeah.
And that's fed into why a lot of like movies now are so long. And, there's a lot more like 3-hour long movies than there used to be.
Yeah. Or these mini series like where each episode is an hour and a half long.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I'm pretty sure this last season of Stranger Things, I think that they said that each episode is 90 minutes. Like each episode is basically a feature movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be insane.
It's wild.
It's going to take me 6 months to watch the last season of Stranger Things.
So, well, you gotta spread it out because it took them like 4 years to make it or whatever.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, the TV, like Christina watches TV when we get in bed, and I'm like, you just put on whatever you want. I'll be asleep in 6 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
that's it. That's all I got. We've been trying to get through this new season of Wednesday. I think we're halfway through the 3rd episode, and it's been out for like 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's my TV viewing.
Yep.
6 minute chunks.
Yep, but then you fall asleep and the app's still open, so that counts.
That counts.
Hey, this guy's been in here for 10 hours today. Doesn't matter if he's been watching shit. That counts as metrics. So it's a weird system, but that was one of those things that was kind of hilarious, because it was like, okay, nobody told these kids about TV and how that used to work, because this is just what it is. But it's like, no, I think there's more to it than that. Like I think there's also
there's also the nostalgia factor. Maybe commercials are cool now, because I could tell you, like, I buy blank tapes that are recorded from the 90s more so for the commercials than I do for whatever the fucking show was that they were recording.
Yeah. The
And
thing that sucks though is all the commercials now are like targeted, you know?
Yeah.
So like I just see the same 4 commercials all the time
oh yeah,
because it thinks that those are the only things I'm interested in. And, you know, there's been, you know, we get like, once you get into your 40s too, you get like all the prescription drug ads, you know, that are just like, hey, your body's starting to deteriorate. You'll probably want some of this shit. So we get all this type of stuff now, but yeah, it's, you know, I wish we got the full breadth of commercials. I would love to see like, I don't know, like children's toys commercials, you know, nowadays, because that was obviously a big thing, you know, back in our day and stuff. But like, it's never feeding me any of that stuff. So, so it's very weird.
If you really get into a thing, you know, on YouTube there are compilations, like hours long, 6 hours of just commercials that you can watch. From the 70s, 80s, 90s. I've done it a handful of times. I've just sat there and I've just been like, man, I sifted
through a lot of those when we were making the VHS tape for the Vegas last year for which commercials to add.
That's right.
I watched so many of those, but yeah, those compilations are awesome. But yeah, it is a massive time sink.
Yeah.
You just start watching and you get this stupid smile on your face, and then all of a sudden you're like, I've been watching commercials for 2 hours.
Yep. And all we wanted to do was run away from them, and they were on originally.
Right, exactly.
It's funny because like commercials have never really bothered me that much, but like there are people in my life, like my wife and her family, that they loathe commercials. Loathe commercials. Like they will change the channel if a commercial comes on. And I'm just like, guys, is it that big of a deal? Come on.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny because like up here, we have a really good NPR station. And so like I've been listening to like FM radio. There's a couple of different like radio stations up here that I actually enjoy. And so like Christina's dad was in the car with me one day and he's like, "Are we listening to like the radio?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Don't you have Sirius?" And I was like, "Yeah, but I only use Sirius for Howard Stern. I don't listen to anything else on Sirius XM. The minute Howard Stern retires, I'm getting rid of my Sirius subscription." He's like, "But there's commercials." And I'm like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
Like, it's not that big of a deal. I don't like, I want to be surprised by the music I'm going to hear. If you listen to any of those channels on Sirius XM long enough, you will find the rotation and you will hear the same songs. They will beat you over the head with the same 86 songs from the same 86 artists. Or if you go to one of the artist curated channels, it's like, I mean, I used to listen to the Fish channel, but like they were playing the same shit. Like you'd hear Backwards Down the Number Line 18 times in a day. And it's just like, all right, enough already. I don't need this shit.
Yeah.
Like, so it's all very like boiled down, just, you know, muck of like, here's the easiest thing we can serve you, you know? And commercials challenge you. So be challenged. Go watch TV with commercials. That's our message for the day. Fuck AI. Fuck AI and watch commercials.
Fuck AI, watch commercials. I love this. I did not anticipate this being the message that we ended up at, but I'm in full support of it. It also seems like, you know, for the like phone obsessed generation, or I guess society that we've become, that's pretty multi-generational at this point. Commercials make a lot of sense because it's like a built-in check your phone break. Yeah. You know, like rather than, I just see people all the time just looking at their phone like during movies or TV shows or something. Yeah. It's like, no, if you like,
how are you watching this if you're on?
I know.
Like, I can do both. I'm like, no, you can't.
You know, you can't. It turns out you definitely can't. But again, a lot of the stuff that is produced nowadays is designed around that. So, you know, to me, who actually pays attention, it's maddening because it's like, why do I need to be told the same thing 17 fucking times over the course of this episode? And it's like, because you got to make sure that whenever people are paying attention, that information comes across. It's like, no, we can't, this can't be the way that we make things. So yeah, bring back commercials, give people a chance every 10 minutes to fucking check in with the world or whatever the fuck they need to do. I think that's a better path forward at this point, which I never thought I'd be saying, but here we are.
Here we are.
So
are.
Proof positive that AI has changed everything.
That it has
already. Yeah.
Sweet. All right. I think this is enough for today.
Yeah. I love this note we've ended on.
Yeah.
Watch commercials.
I will be in Spain when you hear this episode. We are recording this a little early, so that way, so I can't do the joke of how was your Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
I just let the cat out of the bag. We're recording this on the Thursday before Halloween, but
Wah, wah.
I will be in Spain. When I get back, we will talk all about the triumphant return of the Kings, Radiohead.
Yes. Hell yeah.
And
I
whatever
can't
other
fucking wait to hear about it.
stupid nonsense I get into in Spain. Whatever my
Yeah.
wife makes me do. I'm sure we're going to do some dumb shit. So,
Yeah.
Sweet.
Get yourself some espadrilles while you're there.
some what?
Some espadrilles.
I don't know what that
It's
is.
a type of shoe. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well-
Spanish shoe.
a Spanish shoe.
Mhm.
I'll keep my eyes out for them.
Keep your eyes out for espadrilles.
All right. Sounds good. Till next time. Bye-bye.
See ya.